never meant to leave you in silence, but now the weight of my absence haunts me with every passing thought. The guilt of not being there when you needed me is a constant shadow I can never outrun. Sometimes the hardest part isn't leaving, it's realizing the pain you caused by doing so. I regret not fighting harder for us, and now all I have is the echo of what could have been. In the quiet moments, I feel the sting of what I didn't say and what I failed to do. Leaving you hanging was my biggest mistake, and now I'm drowning in the guilt of it. I thought I was giving us space, but all I gave you was distance and pain. The silence I left behind speaks louder than any words could have. I never expected to miss you this much after everything, but regret lingers in the spaces where we once were. It hurts knowing that I left you waiting, and now I don't know how to make it right. The guilt of abandoning you is a heavy burden I carry every day. Every moment without you feels like an eternity of regret. If I could go back, I would never leave you hanging in that moment. The silence between us is the loudest regret I've ever known. Leaving you without closure was a choice I wish I could take back. I thought walking away would be easier, but all I have now is the guilt of leaving you behind. Every day I live with the regret of not being there when you needed me the most. What I did was wrong, and now the weight of that mistake is crushing me. I regret the way I left you hanging, and now every moment feels like a painful reminder. I didn't realize how much my actions would hurt you until it was too late. The guilt eats at me, knowing I left you, wondering why I didn't stay. I can never undo the hurt I caused, but I wish I could find a way to show you how sorry I am. Leaving you without explanation was selfish, and I can never fully forgive myself for it. In every thought I have now, your absence echoes louder than any words I could have said. I never meant to leave you in the dark, but now I'm the one who can't find the light. I regret every moment I spent apart from you, knowing I could have been the one to comfort you. The silence I created between us is the hardest thing to face, and it's a regret I live with every day. I thought leaving you was the right choice, but now I see how wrong I was. I didn't understand the consequences of my actions until I was left to live with the guilt. Every time I think about what I did, my heart aches, knowing I left you hanging with no explanation. I regret every time I could have reached out but didn't. Now all I'm left with is regret. I can feel the distance between us, and it's a distance I created with my own hands. The hardest part isn't just leaving, It's living with the guilt of knowing what I did to you. I thought my absence would heal things, but all it did was create a wound that never healed. You never deserved to be left hanging, and now I carry the weight of that truth in my heart. I regret the silence, and I regret the distance. I only wish I could have done better. I walked away, thinking it would make things easier, but it only made everything harder. The guilt of leaving you hanging is a constant companion, and I can never escape it. I was so afraid of facing the truth that I ran, leaving you behind to pick up the pieces. I regret not being there for you when you needed me, and that guilt is a weight I can't shake. If I could go back and do it all over, I would never leave you in a place of uncertainty again. Every thought of you brings regret, and every moment without you feels like a missed opportunity. Leaving you behind was a mistake I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. I left you in a space of confusion, and now I'm drowning in the regret of it. The guilt is overwhelming, knowing I left you hanging without the closure you deserved. I regret not being honest with you, and now I have to live with the consequences of my actions. Leaving you was never about you. It was about my own fears, and now I regret letting them control me. Every second that passes is another reminder of how wrong I was to leave you waiting. I should have stayed. I should have fought, but instead I left, and now I regret every moment. The space I created between us is filled with my own guilt and regret. Leaving you without a word was a mistake that haunts me daily. I didn't realize how much my absence would hurt until it was too late to make things right. I walked away thinking I was doing the right thing, but now I know I was wrong. Every time I think about leaving you hanging, the weight of my regret crushes me. I regret the times I should have reached out but let my pride hold me back. I didn't realize the depth of the pain I caused until I felt the emptiness of my own actions. The guilt I feel for leaving you hanging is something I can't escape, no matter how hard I try. I could turn back time and undo the hurt I caused by leaving you hanging. The silence I created between us is louder than any apology I could ever give. I can't help but wonder how different things would be if I hadn't walked away. The guilt I feel is like a constant reminder of the one mistake I can't undo. Every thought of you is a sharp reminder of how wrong I was to leave you like that. I never imagined that walking away would cost me so much, but now I'm paying the price of regret. Leaving you without an explanation was the worst choice I ever made, and I regret it every day. My absence in your life has created a void I can't seem to fill with anything but regret. The regret of leaving you hanging is something I have to live with, no matter how much time passes. I wish I had been brave enough to face the truth instead of running away and leaving you in pain. There's no greater regret than knowing I left you wondering where I went and why I didn't stay. I never thought I'd miss you this much, but now every moment apart feels like a mistake I can't undo. The guilt of knowing I could have been there for you, but wasn't, eats at me every single day. I regret not being the person you needed me to be when you needed me the most. My actions left you stranded in uncertainty, and now all I have is the overwhelming regret of it. I left you without closure, and now I can't escape the haunting feeling that I left something unfinished. I thought that leaving would solve everything, but now I know it only left me with a life of regret. The guilt of walking away from you is a burden I can't seem to release, no matter how hard I try. I regret the way I left, and every day I wish I could find the words to make it right. The pain I feel from leaving you without an explanation is something I can't ever fully heal from. Leaving you hanging was a moment I wish I could undo, but now I live with the consequences. I didn't realize how much my absence would affect you, and now I carry the regret of it. Sometimes I wonder how different my life would be if I hadn't left you in that moment of need. The silence between us is deafening, and I regret every moment I didn't break it sooner. I didn't know how much leaving you would hurt me until I had to live with the guilt of it. Now that I'm standing in the aftermath of my actions, regret is the only thing I'm left with. The weight of leaving you hanging is a burden I can never escape, no matter how much time passes. I regret not being there for you when you were waiting for me, and now I carry that regret in my heart. Every moment without you feels like a consequence of my decision to leave, and it's one I can't undo. The silence I left behind is louder than any apology I could give, and the guilt is unbearable. I never meant to leave you in pain, but now I see that my absence is a wound I can't heal. I thought I was doing the right thing, but now I see how wrong I was to leave you hanging. I regret not reaching out sooner, and now the time that has passed feels like a lifetime of regret. The hardest part of walking away was knowing I would never get the chance to make it right. I wish I had stayed. I wish I had spoken, but now all I have is the guilt of leaving you behind. I left without a word, and now I'm stuck in the silence, longing for the chance to say I'm sorry. The space I created between us is filled with guilt and regret, and it's a place I never wanted to be. I regret leaving you with questions and no answers. Now I'm left searching for my own closure. I thought I was letting go, but all I did was leave behind a trail of regrets that I can't escape. The worst part of leaving you behind wasn't the distance, it was the guilt that came with it. I regret leaving you with nothing but silence and unanswered questions, knowing you deserved more. Now that time has passed, the regret of walking away from you is all I can feel. The silence I left behind is a constant reminder of the pain I caused and the regret I live with. I never realized how much you needed me until I walked away, and now regret is all that remains. Every day I regret leaving you in a place of confusion when I should have been there to help guide you. I left you hanging, thinking it would make things easier, but all it did was make everything harder. The guilt I carry for walking away is a weight that gets heavier with every passing moment. I thought leaving would set us both free, but now I see it only trapped me in a cycle of regret. I regret leaving you in the dark, and now I can't seem to find the light to guide me back to you. The hardest part of leaving you hanging is knowing that I was the one who created this distance between us. I regret not telling you how much you meant to me before I walked away, and now that regret haunts me.